when you generate leads from Facebook or Instagram, the range, if you do the right thing, you get highly qualified, market qualified leads. It will range from 15 to 25 leads to any deal. We have clients that are doing 1 out of 8, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 11. But these people ultimately are having better systems and acquisition methods to convert that lead into a deal. So if you're wholesaling only, expect that maybe 1 out of 20, 1 out of 25 will be a cash deal.
Hey guys, today I'm with Esteban Andrade. My name's Julian Castle, and this is the How I Did This podcast. We're going to be interviewing him about how he has basically built his company, Hessel Media, to do over $27 million in revenue. And now he's helping real estate professionals get leads and in their business and also hiring top talent with remote Latinos in other countries. So, Esteban, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me. I know you've had a few couple guests that are pretty awesome. I know a lot of them. Actually, most of them I know them personally. So I'm glad to be part of this podcast.
Amazing, man. It's really a pleasure. And I haven't really met anybody that is in the hiring space. I think this is a very powerful podcast potentially because you bring a lot to the table that a lot of other people don't, which is, in order to build an empire, you really need to have a team, right? And in order to
Yeah.
find that team, you need to, recruit them, you need to do all this stuff and train them. And so I think you bring a lot of experience to the table, and I really wanted to talk with you about this. So just tell us a little bit about your background, like how you got started. What was that for you?
Before entrepreneurship, I went the route of going to school, university, getting 5 years of a bachelor's in engineering, mechanical engineering, and I worked for Fortune 500 companies. So I worked for Fiat Chrysler Automotive as an engineer. I designed their cars, pickup trucks, actually heavy duty trucks, and I designed all their frames. So I was like in charge of making sure that no one dies essentially because of
Mm,
the bad structure of the frames, and it actually does work, right?
yeah.
So with that experience, I've always wanted to kind of like do more and faster too. And I couldn't see myself staying there for 20 years until these people that were 20 years in the company were making $250,000 max $350,000 a year. I I couldn't fathom myself that was the only ceiling, right?
Yeah.
So I started getting a lot into the online, like seeing a lot of these online gurus like Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone popping in my screen and kind of like motivating you to kind of find your purpose, find your why. So I was okay. Let me try something of that. I always had the hustle culture, mindset of like working and then figure something out extra or more above and beyond. So I decided to do that, and I got into something called Facebook ads for business owners, for small business owners.
Hmm.
And at the beginning, it was like taking courses and apply to with trial clients. So I had a lot of trial clients that would do the work for free or for very very cheap,
Hmm.
and then ultimately share my knowledge of generating leads to small business owners, HVAC business owners, lawyers, gym owners, real estate agents, real estate investors. Kind of did a lot of work for them, generating leads specifically from Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's kind of I started, that's what I started doing, right?
Yeah.
Like to generate actual money. Before that, I definitely tried like the fulfillment by Amazon thing, the drop shipping, selling online
Yeah.
products and so on. It's funny because I chose to sell masks 1 year before COVID happened. So
Mm.
would have who would have thought that it was going to become such a popular, high demand thing to sell, um, like in a year or so when COVID happened. So I kind of landed in the real estate space while I was living in Detroit. And I stayed there, right? I've been staying
Yeah.
there for the last couple of years, 5 years of being already in real estate mostly. But now I have two companies that serves real estate investors and wholesalers. Uh, these
Mm,
are these are a recruiting company, you said it yourself, and a lead generation company as well.
mm.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. It's incredible because I also had to start just like you in the Facebook ads. Like I started as a social media marketing agency back in like 2017, and I had some success, but I didn't see a success that I think I could have as a real estate investor. So I pivoted. I tried drop shipping. I did other things as well. But it's
Very
great
similar.
that you stuck with it. And and it's great. And Facebook ads and all these things are always going to be a important part of the business because paid ads are one of the best ways to get customers. So
Yeah.
so yeah. So that's incredible. And so I'm assuming you first started with the lead generation. Is that right?
That was
Um,
the first business ever. Yes.
Yeah. And so when did you niche down on real estate investors? When did you think like, okay, real estate investor is a good niche, like these people can pay and they're consistent and I want to do business with them. When was that like one of the things that you had come across your mind, you know?
Yeah, I think for an entrepreneur, it's very important for them to learn how to tunnel focus. And they talk about that in terms of doing the work and you focus on doing the work. But when, in terms of actually making money, most entrepreneurs start very, very broad, which it's a very hard thing to do. When you go broad and you try to do multiple things and try to help multiple people, you really help no one and you
Hmm.
ultimately become a master of nothing. Like
Yeah.
being a master of everything is master of nothing at the end of the day, especially when you're starting out. So when you're starting out, when I was starting out, I decided there was only one focus I needed to do, and that was one of my ultimate passions, which is investing into real estate, fix and flipping, wholesaling. Well, that started because I've always wanted to invest into real estate. Everyone read um,
Rich
the
dad,
Poor
poor
Dad,
dad.
Rich Dad. Yeah, you knew about it, and that kind of opened my mind into getting into that really deep in Detroit. If you go to Detroit, you see very bad shaped houses that if you were to have the power to change Detroit of how it was in 1950s,
Hmm.
you need people to go and invest and see the opportunity there. So I started seeing that opportunity of flipping houses in Detroit, investing in Detroit, and that's what got me started. And after that, it became an obsession, right? Like I became obsessed about uh, real estate investing, real estate wholesaling, and then I became obsessed on business itself. So I became obsessed on business for wholesaling, for real estate investing, which is very applicable. Like I think real estate wholesaling and investing is like one of the, especially wholesaling, because it's such a marketing and sales driven business to get you started for you to take over any business after that. If you master wholesaling, if you know how to build a very successful wholesaling business, then other things will fall into place. Like if you were to build another business in another industry, you will have learned all the fundamental things that a business requires. The same thing for as an SMMA. If you build an SMMA and it's very successful, it has all the elements for you to learn how to acquire clients, get bigger clients, repeated customers, retain your clients, right? And work all these different business buckets so that you can be successful in business. So I started just really diving into that point, into that niche, because it was important for me to scale, and that's what made me go from I was making maybe $6,000 a month extra on top of my job, and then I niched down into wholesaling real estate. So 2 months after that, I was making $25,000 a month. If I had started going broad, it would have been very, very hard. And then once I started investing into myself and hired my first, virtual assistant and so on, to help me from $25,000, I went to $65,000, and it changed the game after that. You know what I mean?
That's
And then
amazing.
after that, it started scaling.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you always focused on real estate wholesaling from the beginning, and you you never did. a deal wholesaling, or have you?
I did a flip,
You did
which
flip.
went
Okay.
yeah, which went horribly wrong. I appreciate the experience I went through it because I made a lot of mistakes where I
Hmm.
didn't know what I was doing, and we were three people, three smart engineers trying to flip a deal, and
Wow.
it didn't it didn't pan out, didn't work out. It
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we wasted money. We spent a lot of money and didn't go through it. And the wholesaling itself, instead of me doing wholesaling, I started working with other wholesalers. And you know how people, they're able to like bring value to wholesalers. Some people JV, some people like do TCs, transaction coordination. Some people, whatever it is. There's many different ways to make money. I decided to work with wholesalers to provide them leads, and that
Yeah.
was my route of like this is how I'm gonna get into wholesaling. But eventually became a really good business.
Yeah, I understand. I got you. So, okay, that's incredible. Um, so tell us a little about what you know about generating leads, because you know how to generate leads for wholesalers, but I want us to know, what are the key metrics that bring a good lead into the table for us as wholesalers? Tell us, like, what are some of the things you look for when you're like filling out, making the people fill out the form? What really like constitutes as a motivated lead for us that we can actually come and convert into a profitable deal.
Yes, for sure. So there's ultimately four fundamental basic things that we need to figure out whether someone is qualified or not. One is, do they have the intention to actually fix a problem? So when we ask pain-based questions in a form where it not only triggers their motivation and also pushes them to move forward knowing that they can actually fix something and get to a desired outcome. That's one question. The second question would be, what would be the urgency of them making something happen, right? So we need to know exactly how long is their decision making process going to take in order to make it happen. So being able to ask questions and disqualify based on that. Now there's different conditional logic type of things that you can do in a quiz funnel or in a lead form. So the disqualified people that are not really ready. And then also based on their pain points or ultimately their challenges, right? So that's the other question that you should be able to ask. So if they do not share that there's a pain point, or if you do not frame it where we help people fix their pain point, we're not gonna have a gauge honestly on that person, right? And
Hmm.
and then the other one is financial. So if you gauge on financially where they are, right? So for instance, if you ask a question whether, hey, if you were to have this desired outcome solved and have this pain point removed, what will be the amount that you would be in this case, because they're selling a house, how much what it would be the amount that you were willing to accept as an offer, the minimum amount, right? If it was like another business, be like, what's your current budget, or range of budget in order to solve this problem, right? Like what's your current budget? So these are the few things that we need to ultimately figure out in a form in any quiz funnel, and the rest are kind of bonuses or personalization that you can actually ask, and this helps us create like a scoring system to score each lead, and you can actually weight every single question and answer from 1 to 4 to figure out, hey, if a 4 is the best and a 1 is the worst and absolutely cancel that appointment, is not worth it. How are we going to evaluate that lead so that we ultimately get appointments done, have quality conversations so that their probability of having a high closing ratio
Hmm.
gets higher, right?
Hmm.
And the end goal is for these people to be as qualified as possible. We focus on the 20% that are going to give us the most amount of money, and we still know that there's some 80% that we will need follow up, will need ultimately different type of let's say tactics or strategies to like get it done. But like this other percentage that is fully qualified, I want them to book an appointment with us So if they book an appointment, right? If they book a call appointment with us, they have the intention, and we can mark that as a marketed qualified lead, right? It's kind of like when recruiting, you're also generating leads. If
Yeah.
if we have 100 candidates that are trying to apply for a job, but only 20 of those people ultimately are filling out a video form, they're telling us all the information, they give us an updated resume, they also do a test or whatever, right? And that, so we'll have all these others that got filtered out because we only want people that truly have the intention, the urgency, right? That they're financially qualified, that it just meets our ideal criteria, and
Mm,
therefore we can focus on a better data, and we can use that data to target more of that those type of people. We can use that data to feed the algorithm to be like, hey, I want more of those people. We can use that data to uh, shape up our ad copy so that, hey, we only want this specific avatar to be targeted in the post and so on. So at the end, that's what we want to do in order to have higher chances of closing deals. We want them to book appointments,
hmm.
get them to become market qualified leads, and having a higher chance to actually have a high quality conversation.
Okay, that's amazing. Cool. And for us as the wholesalers, what do we have to do in order to make sure that we are taking care of our leads in the best way possible? How soon should we call the leads? How soon should we follow up? Uh, how many leads does it take to get a contract?
Yeah. So there's been studies that say if you take more than 2 minutes to actually get a hold of someone, have a conversation, or spark a conversation after someone has opted in, because an opt-in is someone that really shows some sort of intention, right?
Yeah.
But intention is nothing if we don't get to actually talk to them. So after 2 minutes, if you don't get a hold of someone through a SMS, email, phone call, conversation, and you don't have a conversation going on with that person, uh, the chances for them to not pick up the phone will increase drastically. And it's about the 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 every single minute that goes after 2 minutes increases your chances by 60, decreases your chances by 60% every single time, where it almost becomes impossible to get a hold of a lead, especially online leads, right? Because these people
Yeah.
are very distracted. Like these people are doing something, whatever. Like maybe they're in the car, you're in the car right now, right? And maybe they are started driving, or they were in the bathroom and they fill out the form in the bathroom, or they were, in the coffee shop and then just got distracted. So getting a hold of those people within 2 minutes is super important, because now it also, apart from making sure that they pick up the phone, it increases your conversion, because
Yeah.
now we have actual conversations. Like we actually have people that we know we can have, we can gauge their interest. We know that we can do an entire full sales process. If we don't
Mm,
get a hold of that person and do everything that it takes in order to get a hold of that person, we're not applying, for example, a 3 to 4 dials on that call, right? So that people know that we're trying to serve them, trying to help them. They don't have our phone number, so you got to try your best and do the extra mile. A lot of our clients, for example, they use iMessage, for example, to get a hold of people so that you actually do increase the chances of getting a hold of them. They do on a FaceTime. They actually send a personalized message or a personalized video saying, "Hey, I'm very excited here that you submitted your form. I want to be able to help you sell your house. It seems like you need to ultimately sell your house. Let's get on a call," and so on. If it's not iMessage, you can use WhatsApp. A lot of clients ultimately also they send a personalized letter to that person if they're not picking up the phone within the first week. From online leads, they go to the person's house. They can drive or send someone to ultimately get a hold of that person. They can skip trace the person. Uh, and these are all the things that we can do to get a hold of that person first. That's the first thing, right? That's
Hmm.
what's going to happen. That happens. Like a lot of people complain that paper lead companies, they have
Hmm.
leads that never pick up the phone. But that's because paper lead companies, they only send you leads, right? They don't necessarily set you up with the right systems to have conversations, right? And also, they're more like, here's a lead, you figure it out, right? And a lot of those leads also live in a marketplace where they've been sitting there for a couple of hours or days or weeks, and then just hopefully they pick up the phone after they already lost the intent or they lost the interest of talking with someone at that right moment. So
Yeah.
that's called speed to lead, right? That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah, it's important to definitely reach out to these leads right away. Um, and so when you're working with someone like you know, how many leads does it take to get a contract, and what is the average, price per lead that you can usually get, if you could give us some metrics kind of to think about.
Sure. When you generate leads from Facebook or Instagram, the range, if you do the right thing, you get highly qualified, market qualified leads. It will range from 15 to 25 leads to a deal. All right.
Uh-huh.
We have clients that are doing 1 out of 8, 1 out of 10, and 1 out of 11. But these people ultimately are having better systems and acquisition methods to convert that lead into a deal.
Hmm.
So if you're wholesaling only, expect that maybe 1 out of 20, 1 out of 25 will be a cash deal
Yeah.
from online leads, right? If you're wholesaling and applying another strategy or acquisition strategy, such as, I'm going to call it, it could be innovations, it could be a creative financing deal, whatever, or, or another way to monetize that lead, your conversion ratio will go higher, right? So that's why it's important that you're not a one trick pony, but actually serve clients and how they actually deserve to be served, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so 1 out of 20, 1 out of 25. And on average, how much are these leads costing us? When you look at
If
it
you,
across the board.
yeah, let's talk about, for example, Meta leads, Facebook, Instagram leads. If you were to do local, it's normal or it's common to actually get leads from $60 to $150 cost per lead, and that depends where you are. Like Miami, for instance, is very very costly, so you'll have leads from $100 to $150 per lead. But if you
Hmm.
go to somewhere in Ohio, you'll have leads at $50 to $80 per lead, right? If you have someone in Michigan, like I recently saw an account in Michigan of a client that is crushing it in Oakland County, and he has about $53 cost per lead, so on.
Yeah.
And some people really say that Facebook leads are cheap, and let's talk about how are they being actually qualified for them to become a cheap lead, because I can generate you leads 100% that are $15, $30 cost per lead. I can guarantee you the lead to contract ratio, the lead to deal ratio will increase, and you'll have to do more work if you were to be doing it that way. But I
Yeah.
want you to focus on quality rather than just quantity, right?
Yeah.
So there is definitely a balance and equilibrium. You want to have a high quality while still keeping quantity and volume coming, right?
Yeah.
Deal size usually, well, it also depends on like the market, but that's local. If you were to do Facebook ads on a more nationwide, the cost per lead becomes cheaper. And I always tell this to clients: spend at least $100 a day. If you're doing less than that, I mean, sure, if you're nationwide, it can 100% work. But I have measured the cost per deal, the cost per acquisition for clients. It ranges from 2,500 to $4,000, sometimes $5,000 cost to acquire a deal. And if we go by math and we average that, let's say it's $3,000 cost per deal, right? Uh, that means that we need to at least spend $3,000 a month to acquire at least one deal. And I know a lot of clients that acquire, two deals, three deals with that amount. That's
Yeah.
that's good, that's perfect. But that mathematically, I want to set you up. I want people to understand, to reverse engineer what is needed in terms of cost per deal, so that we know the ad spend, and we know what's going to be the cost per lead, and we know the lead to deal ratio, right? So if you do nationwide, you'll be able to find cheaper leads, $30
Yeah.
all the way to, $60, $70 when you go nationwide.
Yeah.
But you still have to take into account what's going to be my success ratio on those contracts. Am I going to
Right.
close, compared to like local campaigns? Am I going to close 65 to 75% of those contracts? Or if I go nationwide, am I going to close 30 to 60%, 50%, let's say, for example? And that's way less than a local campaign, right?
Yeah.
So there's different strategies, and a lot of different people they vouch for stay local, go nationwide, go virtual. Look, we get results no matter how, as long as you know the numbers, and as long as you have an actual process, and you accept the expectations of what it
Hmm.
needs to happen. You're gonna be you're gonna be good. You know what I mean?
Okay. That makes sense. And based on what you know, from working with a lot of investors, what is the actual average profit size or deal size from what you're getting? Is it 10,000, 20,000? For most investors all around the board in your company.
Yeah, clients that do know what they're doing, investors that do know what they're doing, they know that in order to scale their business, they need to get bigger deals, which means that they need to negotiate for a lower discount and sell it for higher for the buyers.
Yeah.
So they normally now range from 20 to 25K. I stopped working with clients that only accept 10K deals. And the
Hmm.
reason why is because those are usually newbie clients or markets, like could be, for example, Detroit, that it has, like such a cheap houses. But it's going to be a volume game at that point. And if you're a newbie, you can accept whatever, right? Like if you get a deal as a newbie, $7,000 is still good for you. But
Yeah.
if you're a seasoned investor, you can't scale a business if you don't get enough money for every deal, because you need to get more clients, and you get those deals to be bigger too. So our bigger clients are always within the range of 20 to 25K. And I know a few clients that they do not accept less than a 30K deal. I know clients
Mm.
that do that. But they still will be willing to, remove a $5,000 discount, to make it 25 deal, and this is in wholesaling, right? We're
Yeah.
talking whole. So
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. Well, that's really good. That's an average deal size of 25,000 dollars. The average deal size in the industry, if I'm not wrong, is I think $10,000 to $15,000. So the people that are doing deals with you are definitely doing a lot more. So that's great. I want to go ahead and change the conversation, pivot a little bit. I want to talk about the hiring side, the
let's do
recruiting
it.
side. I think this is the greatest, thing that you can talk about right here. So tell us a little bit about, why you got into the space. Like what makes you good to be able to get into the space and be able to hire and recruit talent for other people that are looking to build a business and, build a team that's big and all that.
Dude, that desire, honestly, the desire of me building Remote Latinos, it came down from the very beginning of me moving to Canada and the United States, and that was the the innate desire of making my country proud, and showing that people that were born in Colombia are really great people and don't have to always be related to cocaine, Pablo Escobar, or all this negative stuff happen. And the reason why I know that is because I lived there for a long time. My friends are from there, but then we have developed this negative stigma that I wanted to prove that we are more than just, you know, white powder. We are, you know, we're very loyal, loyal people. We're very friendly. We work hard. We ultimately are extremely smart. Like the you know, I've seen such a great, amazing talent in Colombia that people do not see. So building remote Latinos allow me to create a bridge between Americans and Latinos, Colombians, for example, to so that they can actually start working together easier, right? Because
Yeah.
like if you think about it, a lot of people that move to the United States, there are, you know, they definitely go to school, they study and stuff like that. But a lot of people that try to move to the United States, they also are not 100% all, you know, scholars, or they don't have a high level of education. They come in here to hustle, and they ultimately are, you know, they started from the bottom, like, and so that's what people ultimately see about Latinos. But like what they don't see is the other side. Like if you go to Colombia, like
Hmm.
we have billion-dollar companies, like we have Rappi, for example. Like we
Right.
build that, right? Like that's huge, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, even right now, the situation that just happened with Donald Trump and the president of Colombia, it still puts us in the map, and puts us in the map in the wrong way. So
Yeah.
I want to change that, right? So having a platform, Remote Latinos, allows you to go in and see the high quality talent on a video, right? On their profile, on the, you know, with their resume, and be like, holy crap, like this person can actually change my business. And we
Yeah.
have a lot of case studies and testimonials showing how they have hired a Maria or a Juan or a Julian, and then they, you know, they literally changed their business. Like they now can they now have people that are in the same time zone. They are cultural fit. They work really hard. They're extremely smart. They have a great English. They ultimately have what it takes in order to replace your time, right? Get back your time and have a very thriving, successful business. So that was a very, very selfish way of seeing it, but at the same time, uh, it's a very powerful way to start a startup or build a business, right? So uh, I think remote Latino is going to be big. You know, I think we're going to
Yeah.
have at least on $100 million business where we're going to be seen and recognized by companies like Fiverr, LinkedIn, Upwork, and then get their attention, because there's no other company right now that has the intentions, the vision, the passion about helping Latinos other than Remote Latinos, and helping them build a Latin American dream, basically, right?
Hmm.
By helping Americans build their American, uh, well, helping entrepreneurs build their business, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's a very cool way of seeing it. And you know, other than that, man, like just I think if you have a innate passion, a really big vision, and you work hard, I'll figure it out. I'm not a recruitment expert, dude. I am not a recruiter. I literally just last year invested maybe $15,000 on recruitment coaching, and actually, I'm gonna go to a recruitment mastermind. But before that, I had zero idea. I just knew that recruitment was also a lead generation funnel. It's a funnel where you have applicants and you will have candidates that are qualified, disqualified, right? You'll have to follow up with them and nurture them too.
Yeah.
It's definitely easier to generate motivated sellers, but you still have to sort through a lot of them, because you generate for every applicant, it costs from 60 cents to $1.50 on Facebook, for example. So you have to go through a lot of them. So you have to build a team, right? But
Hmm.
in order to find that one, you also have to develop really good aggressive systems, where you have a sourcer, kind of like an appointment setter, like sorting through the applicants, like talking with those people, and then you have a recruiter, kind of it's like the closer and so on, right? Where you actually are identifying the best one that is going to be sent to the client, and this sorcerer recruiter type of duo, right, is
Hmm.
what's going to help our clients uh, get a hire in like 10 days, right? So a
Wow.
very high quality hire. And now we have a platform where it will filter out people by series of challenges or series of questions that make them show and sell themselves through a platform. So imagine if it is a kind of like Tinder, Bumble slash LinkedIn, but for only people that will want to get hired in the United States, are highly vetted and qualified from Latin America, and they're going to work remotely. That's what Remote Latinos platform marketplace is, right? So
Mm.
that's a big thing. That's the next big thing that we're building.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. I mean, um, it it is important, I think, to highlight and note that like Colombians or people in South America, they're just as smart as the people here in America. I mean, they have even more hustle and more work ethic, sometimes than the people here in America. And so having the ability to be able to hire someone like that and be able to have them work for you and your company here in America, I mean, it's just an amazing arbitrage because obviously you're paying them in dollars, but they're earning in pesos. So you can get a lot more for your dollar. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you do like in order to filter out those higher candidates, like especially people that know how to speak English? Because I mean, it's kind of hard to work with someone that doesn't know how to speak English.
Yeah. Well, the first thing about ultimately finding those people is if you have a top of the funnel marketing that is going to attract non-English speakers, is because one, you didn't say it in your marketing. Two, you didn't call out those bilingual or English speakers that have 90 to 100% level of English, or for example, fluent, right? Um, the It's all about how you market it, and your job post is essentially your marketing, or the call out essentially of how you're going to track those people, and then after that, we make it so obvious that people, the only people that are bilingual, have a perfect English, that are highly qualified, and have experience on specific areas, are the ones that we are going to accept. So we right away from the very beginning, like we have a high bar. Like this is for people that do have experience, have worked before remotely, ultimately have a great English, and are willing to accept at minimum $5 to $7 an hour, right?
Hmm.
And even though some people will ask for more, we have a few team members that honestly we pay them way more than that, but that's because the value that they bring to the table and to the company is so much bigger than just $5 to $7 an hour. We do have those, but those are people that are still will come into the funnel depending on the job. So after that, we have a few questions where we ask, give me your video, uh, present this English test, and send us also your resume. And your video will tell a lot on how you communicate. And communication is one of the biggest skills that all of these people will need, especially if you're in a role like a lead manager or an acquisitions or a dispo or an executive assistant. If you don't have communication, if you don't know how to communicate well and speak and tell your idea well, it's going to be noticeable in the video, like right away,
Yeah.
right? And or in a voice note, you can always do a voice note too, but it's going to be very noticeable there. So, and because creating content and ultimately building your personal brand is the thing, is becoming so popular, people need to know, and they also know already, that this is what's going to set them apart, right?
Yeah.
I think a resume is the thing of the past. A resume could be just like a baseline, but the other things that will set you apart is how do you sell yourself? what are your qualifications, how well do you go, how you go about these tests and challenges that we make you do, right? So we can evaluate your skills and evaluate your cultural fit, and obviously your language, right, which is the communication. And that way we have enough, like a very tight a very tight filtering process, so that we only accept the best ones. And then the other part that comes into play is sourcers and recruiters will work hand in hand, only accepting high top level people, and that's something we know inside. So these are different systems that you got to be able to create in order to fully like get high quality talent.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. I like how you start using the videos to vet them out and make sure they have experience. How valuable is one of these potential hires for someone? For example, like, have you guys done any studies of like, okay, you bring in a person and you're paying them the $5 to $7 an hour, for example, but then they generate a 5x or a 10x, return on what you're spending on them, basically. Is there any kind of study that you've done that you can kind of talk about as to, what the return on investment is from hiring a team member from Latin America?
Yeah, yeah. So for example, in our YouTube channel, we have a case study of a remote Latina. I'm not gonna mention her name because I don't want you to snatch her. But she I think she's about $6 or something like that per hour plus
Yeah,
commission. She's the acquisition manager of one of our clients, Corey, and
yeah,
essentially she has closed $20,000 deals, $40,000 deals in 1 month. She closed about 3 deals, and like she's only been with him for about 2 months. And so, what's a deal size for you? For example, $20,000, $40,000, like those deals that are that size, um, and you're paying this person $6 an hour. You do the math, that's a really big return of investment. Like we're
yeah,
talking here over 20, 30x, right? And as actually one, that's a good question because a lot of people cannot identify whether it makes sense for a person to keep working in your company, even though they're a good cultural fit and they do have some skills. But if you don't understand the revenue per employee, like how much revenue that employee actually generates in your company, then you might be hiring someone that is not needed in that company. And you're keeping that someone just because you're being nice as opposed to being kind and actually understanding that some people they're just not going to cut it and need to be moved on from your company because you have a different goal. Instead of just keeping people just because you're nice, you have to uh, only accept the people that are going to move your company forward, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean that's amazing. I mean, her being able to close 20, $40,000 deals, I mean, that's an amazing kind of return that you can get there. And for the person that's hiring, what are some of the things that they should have in place in order to be able to have in a smooth hire? We talk about some things like SOPs, systems. Like, what are some of these things? What are some of these things that you need in order to get in there to be able to do a better job
Yeah,
hiring?
if you're hiring someone remotely, it's very similar on what you need them. You need to when you hire remotely, it's not different than how you hire someone locally in terms of how you set them up for success. You have to have a breakdown exactly what their expectations is, right? Of
Yeah.
what the role really entails, right? So actually, Alex Ramosi calls it the 4 R's: roles, the role, the responsibilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
The results that they need to get, and the requirements of that specific role. You go over that with that person in the first day, first week, and you also tell them what the culture that is required, the core values of the company is, so that they can picture in their head, this is how I have to behave in order
Yeah.
to be in this company for forever, and this is the type of results that I need to do. And then you break it down into KPIs. So the results that I need to to get to that result, I need to be able to measure this KPI every single day and attain these other KPIs in order to at bare minimum stay or exceed my expectations or meet my expectations, right? And
Yeah.
that comes into your onboarding process. So if you don't have an onboarding process where it's a very well structured of from the first day all the way to their day 7 all the way to day 30, then you're not going to set up someone for success, and you're probably going to blame that person. And if the person does not have something to rely on or to follow as a guide, you're essentially asking that person to build a business for you. These are systems that you need to create before someone comes in. Now, it's
Yeah.
different if someone already has experience building things out for you, or for other companies, and they can build it. That's an extremely valuable A player. But if you're looking to fulfill a gap in your business and get your time back, you have to create playbooks for these people. So how to do from start reaching out to, let's say, agents, uh, to talking with that agent, having a sequence, sales sequence on so that we can that agent starts sending us referral leads, to putting them in the CRM or managing the CRM. Step by step processes or guides will help them just move forward. The right person, though, the right A player, will see that SOP, will see those playbooks, and will run with it in day one, right? And we'll be able to know because that person has the experience of exactly what you need them to do. But if they don't necessarily have the experience, but they do have the knowledge, you do have to be with them every single day, right? And
Yeah.
that involves trainings, daily trainings. That involves your weekly one-on-one check-ins where you actually are going over feedback and essentially recognizing them what they've done well, and then also evaluating what they need actually to do. And this comes down to how you set them up to success. And I actually have a YouTube channel where I post about hiring a lot on my YouTube channel, and there is a video that covers all the things that we actually do. It's actually something that maybe anyone that is listening to this podcast can watch it. We break it down into every single tool, every single system that you need, from end of the day feedback loops that you need those people to send you. So essentially, a form that they need to fill out to telling them exactly what happened this day, what are the KPIs, and what do they need help with, and what they're gonna be needing to do tomorrow. And then at the end of the week, where we actually not only understand KPIs but understand their energy. These are end of the week feedback loops that they need to submit a form every single week, and then
Yeah.
we see that form. And then also end of the month meetings that we have as a company itself, a an actual sequence of every morning meeting. If you have a sales team, for example, so if you have appointment setters, lead managers, closers, acquisitions, whatever, how do you do the daily sequence, right? The daily huddles, so that they actually are set up for the day and start closing deals, right?
Yeah.
So these are all things that you need. There's an entire video that we covered this.
Amazing. How hard is it for us wholesalers to find a good acquisition manager with you? Is there a lot out of them out there for us, or is it really like more about finding the right person who could develop into a good acquisition manager?
Yeah, in Latin America, it's definitely both of those. So we can take a couple weeks to find the right acquisition managers for you. Let's say, for example, 4 weeks we would be able to ultimately match you with someone. It takes more
Hmm.
time, more effort,
Yeah.
because the sales industry in Latin America, even though there are still hardcore closers in there too, it's different than the United States, right? We're more aggressive here. Like the way that we are used to selling in the consumer market is different. So you'll find those people that have experience working here in the United States or so on, but it takes us more time. It's more of a headhunting job. But there's a lot of people that they are very well or great to develop, right? So for
Yeah.
example, we're fulfilling a few clients on acquisition managers, and these people, they need to be essentially, we need to go to other companies that already have acquisition managers and presenting them with an opportunity. And we essentially, quote unquote, poach them from other companies so that they work with our client companies. And that's a headhunting job, right?
Oh, really?
That's something you need to do. Uh, and I have noticed, even though we're remote Latinos, we work with Egyptians. And
Uh-huh.
Egyptians, the in industry in Egypt is so used to real estate sales and real estate acquisition, so much that it's somewhat a little bit faster to find a an Egyptian closer, right?
Yeah.
Because again, it's all about how the market has been sophisticated within those countries. Right now, Latin America, it's still very unexplored. A lot of people are not really doing it because they mostly go into Philippines or Egypt and so on. So
Yeah.
it's not as sophisticated in terms of like building as helping small business owners like real estate investors and wholesalers.
Yeah.
But we do find those people and we help them connect, right?
Yeah. Okay. That's incredible. I didn't know that Egyptians already had that kind of culture going on for them. So
Yes,
so yeah. Um that's great. So wow. And so tell us how can we get involved with your companies? How can we get involved with your lead generation company and how can we get involved with your remote Latino company? And how does that work? What's the
for
process
sure.
like?
You can always visit motivatedselleronline.com. Um, it's basically our brand for Hustle Media, which is our company, our lead generation agency. And you can also go to remotelatinos.com. And
Yeah.
remotelatinos.com, you can create a profile, easily find your next A player. All these people that are in the marketplace are pre-vetted. Or you can we can work with us directly and partner up with us so we can find someone for you without you needing to do the work. Because the marketplace, you have to do the work. You have to find that person, right?
Yeah.
When you work with us, dude, like, we're gonna be very straightforward. Like this is exactly what you need. This is exactly the expectations. We've been in the business. We have invested in ourselves so much that we deliver really good results. And we part of different masterminds, and you'll see different masterminds such as Boardroom or Sub Two Community or Ryan Pineda's Wealthy University, Seven Figure Cartel that really have uh, tasted the results that we provide.
Yeah.
And so we're very confident about it. We've been in podcasts like Real Estate Disruptors, Ryan Pineda, and we always go with the purpose of teaching and adding value, however it is.
Yeah.
So you can also find us in social media at Estenic, and we actually have a really funny page in Remote Latinos called Remote Comedy, where me and my business partner we create essentially funny videos on remote work or work itself, and like we had a video that went really literally viral that talks about how the boss behaves and and just making fun of the boss and stuff like that. So you can actually see like a different type of content there that teaches and also adds a lot of value.
Okay. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I love it. Okay, great. So I'm pretty sure that we have covered everything, I think. But
Yeah.
tell us if you have any parting words for the audience, like what do you recommend people do, at the end of this podcast?
Dude, I would say if you have passion, turn that passion into action.
Hmm.
If you don't have a passion for something, find a vision for something, and then ultimately be so obsessed about that something, do it so well every single day that you eventually will become passionate about that, obsessed about that, and it will make a lot of money. But money doesn't come in just by thinking, rainbows and butterflies. Money comes in with patience. Money comes in with a lot of discipline and dedication, and actually doing the work. And sometimes you have to stop, doing the things that you commonly do going to the dinners, going to the friends meetup, uh, you know, going to the family meetup, you know, having a Saturday off and so on. Like you cannot do all of that stuff when you're building something great.
Yeah.
So you have to ultimately take massive action, making sure that you disappear for a couple months because when you reappear, you'll be an entire different human being, right? And it might
Yeah.
take 6 months to 12 months. It might take 16 months. But if you are dedicated to your success and to yourself and obsessively doing it, you will become very successful. I believe so.
Okay. Amazing. All right, guys. Well, you heard it here on How I Did This with Julian Castle. We had Esteban, and he talked about how he's doing motivated seller leads for real estate investors and how he's helping us recruit talent. So if you are wanting to go check this out, any of his companies, follow him on Instagram. Is Estenick is ESTE Nick NICK. And yeah, hope you had some value from this, and we hope to hear you on in the in the future. Okay. Thank you,
Oh
Esteban.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. Well, I'll catch you in the next one.